everyone, this is your OG Original Gamer, and this is another Godforge video. This video might be the juiciest we have seen yet in terms of gameplay leaks and confirmations of who we will be able to choose from the start in both the Alpha Cavern in July and the global release. This is a sizzling hot video chock full of goodies, and your OG is going to break it down for you. So without further ado, let's optimize.
Hey guys, this is Simon from Fateless. Today we're going to be going through the starter heroes at your disposal when you start Godforge. This is going to be the...
Alright, so we are going to let it run in the background and we will talk a little bit about what Simon shares in this video. So this is the day we've been waiting for, right? No more speculation, no more guessing. We now know who our starter heroes are going to be for the alpha and for the global launch. So Simon mentions both of those things. So that is something we didn't know, that the alpha and the global launch will both start in the same way. That's interesting to know, and that we'll choose from the same set of starter heroes. That was definitely not something we knew for sure. Optimized Gaming got a little mention there with regards to the other content creators that were speculating about this. And then Simon plays. So the game starts with the announced trailer, which is something we now understand. It can be skipped. You can like skip ahead through it if you've already seen it and started the game, I guess, before. But this is what leads into the screen where you pick your champions. You pick your starter champion. So Simon just basically watched this as a lead-in to that, and you know, like he said, I haven't seen this in a while, let me just watch it again. It's only 1:30, so we enjoyed kind of getting to watch that announced trailer again. But now we know it definitely leads right into the screen that we'll see where we're gonna pick the champions for the game. So after, yep, right there. Alright, so then we get into here. Broomhild is our sort of lead character, and she's looking for assistance, and so you see she's talking with Ramses, she's talking with Guan Yu, she's talking with Lady Zoc, and these are the three champions, as we had speculated, that are your three damage dealers you're choosing from to start with Brunhild being your defender. Okay, so this is your first look at the three champions doing their basic, their core, and their ultimate skills, and basically just showing what they can do. Now, I wouldn't focus too strongly on the actual damage outputs because we don't know what their builds are behind the scenes in terms of, you know, Simon might be working with Ramses and have him built out a little, where maybe he doesn't have Lady Zoc or Guan Yu built out, because we see some significant differences in the damage outputs, but I don't think that we should read too much into that because we don't know all the behind the scenes stats, but really looks cool. So basically your four team members get here and you face up against Ra. And so this is very reminiscent of Raid, the beginning of Raid, where the four champions come up to the dragon. And so there's some, you know, banter back and forth, so you have an understanding of who's on what side, and then Ra uses his ultimate and smashes everyone, and that's how the game begins. And now you get to the screen where you choose which of the three. You choose your name first, obviously, for your account, and then you choose which of these three champions, Ramses, Guan Yu, and Lady Zoc, you want to add to your team. Okay, so what do these three champions have in common? We'll go over that first because they have a lot in common. Also, this is the new background that they're working on. So he said that this is just the 2D rendering, but this is more like what it'll look like when we get into the game. So very cool. Some things moved around. I think it looks more spacious, and there's all these different ways to go out from it. I like that. Kind of makes it seem like a larger world. So what do these three champions have in common? Well, they're all rares. We knew that. That makes sense, right? So they're all rares. They are all the strength affinity. which means they're all that red, which are going to be good against blue, the magic, and they're going to be weak against green or wisdom. So that they're all the same in that regard. They are all Slayer class, and here he mentions this, but all of them are Slayer class, and so they're damage dealers basically to add to Broomhild, who is a defender. They all have the same package in terms of their basic core ultimate, and that is that their basic is a single point attack, and they have AoE for their core and their ultimate skills. So each of them has different skills, and we'll get into breaking that down in a second here, but they all have the same single point attack for their basic, AoE for their core, AoE for their ultimate. They all can place a debuff, which allows them to become a dual multiplier in terms of damage production. We'll get into that. All of them have a 20 to 25% core boost that lowers their need for crit hit chance in order to cap. We'll talk about that. All of their passives deal 20% increased damage to those under the debuff they place. We'll talk about that. Ultimate costs are all 1,000. The gain is the same because they're all the same class, obviously, and that gain is by killing enemies. And the rate, so then the rate of the gain is the same between them, which makes sense because they're all the same rarity. All their auras are the same, 20% increased attack in all battles, so all three have the same. All their champs' core abilities have a 4-turn cooldown. One of them does have the ability to shorten that cooldown or reduce the cooldown, but all of them have a base 4-turn cooldown on their core ability. All of the champions have a turn meter or speed component. It's just one of these three, either a speed buff, a turn meter boost, or a cooldown reduction on the skill. All champs have the same damage multipliers for their first two skills. For their basic and their core, it's 300% and 400% of attack for all three of them. So on the base level, they're all going to be doing very similar damage, but there are some differences. Okay, so what are some differences? We'll get into that in a second. Let's look at Guan Yu. So Guan Yu is a really interesting starter champion. On the surface, he is the lowest in like almost all the stats. He does have higher HP than any of the other two, but his attack is not the highest, his defense is not the highest, his speed is the lowest, his initiative is the lowest, and his accuracy is the lowest. So you're going to have to build him and have accuracy to land the drain debuffs that he has here. So you will, I assume, we assume you're going to need accuracy and you're going to need your crit hit chance to be up at a certain level. Now for him, he gets a 25% boost. This is his ultimate, so we'll go back to this one. He gets a 25% additional chance to strong hit. So you're only having to crit cap him at 75%, and then you see if he kills an enemy, he reduces the cooldown of this ability by 1 turn. This can be powerful because I don't know if this scales, like if he kills 2 enemies, he reduces it by 2 turns, or if it's just he kills and each time he kills, he gets 1 turn off of it. We'll have to test this and see, but he could be sneakily a very strong champion. He also, on his core ability, has a sort of a sneaky dual multiplier, almost like a poison. It's a 5% of the target's max HP. So it's really going to be they all have a dual multiplier in some way using the debuff plus raw damage, and so his kit is really neat. Now the last part of it that I think is cool is that his ultimate here attacks 4 random enemies, okay? But I wonder if he's attacking, like, say, a single boss, if he hits 4 times, kind of like a Cold Heart. Or a Kael with poisons. And each one having a 35% chance to land. So that's interesting. We'll have to test that out and see. And then it's important for us to remember that these are their skills without any scrolls. So I don't know if the basic skills will improve at all. His basic maybe will go from 5% of the target's max HP up to 10 or 15 or 20%. We're not sure if basic skills take scrolls and can add. The core skill definitely seems like maybe it could start at 25% off your crit hit chance and go up to 30 or 40%, so you only have to build your crit hit chance to 60%. That we have seen in testing that Simon only had his crit hit chance at like 40 or 50%. It wasn't 70, 80, or 90%. So perhaps as you get the scrolls for these skills, you'll be able to, we'll see what it scales up to. So this, I find him very interesting. Also, as we get to his passive, Simon mentions that passives can be imprinted on other champions. So sometimes the only reason you would want or to have a rare is to imprint their passive on another champion. And he mentions it as he's talking with Guan Yu, because Guan Yu's passive deals 20% increased damage to enemies under drain, and he places a lot of these drains. So he also talks about the divinity gain and how to get here, but you can see his passive is deals 20% damage to enemies under drain. This can be imprinted on another champion, so he says look for an AoE drain on a base skill to go with this passive, and that is how I think the game is set up to progress, so that there's still value in rares even when their stats are just not high enough to go at the levels you want to go at. It will be really interesting to test out Guan Yu's ultimate on a single target boss and see if it is a 4-hitter, with 35% chance on each hit. It looks like a sneaky good kit with like lower stats, so maybe not designed to jump out and be the one you think you'd want to go with, but it looks like it might scale really well for later stages of the game against higher max HP bosses, things like that. So it may not be the fastest out of the gate strategy, but maybe Guan Yu can help you a lot down the road. That's where we're at with Guan Yu. Now we'll get on to Lady Zoc. And they took the glimmer out of Guan Yu's eyes, so he is no longer sparkling. So Lady Zoc is really interesting. She is also a rare, obviously, Mayakan faction. She's of the Order alignment, and she has the highest accuracy of the 3. Okay, she's also the second fastest by like 1 just behind Ramses, and she has speed up 2. She's the only one with a buff. Okay, and that speed up 2, we've seen it somewhere. I had it in my spreadsheet. That speed up 2 is plus 25% speed for 3 turns, and this skill is on a 4-turn cooldown. So that is the speed component that she brings, is a speed buff on herself for, it says 2 turns. We originally thought it was 3 turns. So it's 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. Sorry. So that's what it should be now. And then, and again, she puts a bleed debuff. So her A1 or her basic allows her to hit for damage and put a bleed on, and then her core, this is where she hits for damage 400%, same as the others, and has a 25% chance that she'll get an extra strong hit. So they all have that 25%, and then in her ultimate, what's really interesting about this is it's tricky because you see Ramses' ultimate and it's 500% his attack, and hers is only 250%, but you have to see that it hits 2 times, so technically it's 500%. So it's the same damage capacity as Ramses, and then each attack has a 35% chance to place 1 stack of bleed on the target. So some of the things we'll need to understand with her is like, how do the stacks work? Are they linear or are they multiplying? So we'd have to understand that to really understand how valuable this is, because her kit matches up very well with Ramses, and the only thing that doesn't is that Ramses has a 75% chance to land his debuff on this, and she only has a 35. So we'll see that as we go forward, but she has very strong, looks like a raw damage dealer. Like, she just smacks really hard, and I like her. I don't know, I'm tempted to go this route just because, one, she looks amazing. I think the Amayakin faction is great. We just saw Quetzalcoatl the other day, who was tied for 2nd in speed, so y'all have a speed lead in that faction if you go that route, and then again, it gives a 20% increased damage under that debuff that she places. It could be an instance, as Ragewood had mentioned, where there is a specific debuff for each faction, and so that would lead us to believe that Simon is saying, go find another like drain, someone with drain on their A or their basic. Well, we'd probably be looking in Tian or in the same faction as Guan Yu, or if it's bleed, maybe that's a Mayakan. It would make sense with human sacrifices in the Aztec world and stuff. And then in Ramses' case, we get to acid. This is a debuff called acid that he places. And you can see he's got the same 300% attack, 400% attack on his first 2 skills. He has a 35% chance to place acid for 2 turns, which is on par with all the other champs. So there's nothing too special about that. He is a chaos alignment where the other 2 are order. So I think that's kind of interesting. That he's the only one who's a chaos. He's the fastest of the 3. He has the highest base speed at 96. Lady Zox at 93 and Guan Yu's at 90. Obviously, speed isn't everything, and especially not for a damage dealer who might be coming in 3rd or 4th to hit. But he is the highest speed and highest either initiative or initial divinity. We aren't 100% sure what the INT stat stands for exactly, but he has the highest of that. And he's second, just 1 behind in accuracy. So he's very high stats across the board. I would say he looks to me like the champion I'm supposed to want, if that makes any sense. Here, his core skill, you see that if an enemy is defeated, it increases his turn meter by 30%. He brings turn meter. Lady Zoc brings speed up, the buff, and then Guan Yu brings a cooldown reduction. So each kind of in the same genre, but different. You can choose which you prefer, which you think is going to be most valuable to you. Then we get to his ultimate, which definitely smacks and comes with a 75% chance with no scrolls to place acid for 2 turns. So unfortunately, it just sets him apart from Lady Zoc. They're pretty much tied evenly, and Guan Yu kind of has like a different kit. But once you see that 75%, it kind of makes Ramses my initial favorite here, just looking at the kits. We haven't tested them. He definitely smacks in terms of Simon's use of them, as you'll see here. So they all have a single target attack, then an AoE core attack, or AoE core ability, then an AoE ultimate ability. Definitely think Ramses is the early favorite. But again, I think it's going to come down to we're going to be able to get all 3 of them in a pretty short amount of time. And it's a matter of them being sort of a booster for their faction. Like if you find others in their faction that have that same debuff or on their A1 or on their basic, then that's how you're going to start building some really good teams inside of the factions to push into those faction campaign areas. So I think we'll wind up with all 3. I don't think, as Simon has said in previous videos, that there'll be this, oh, you need to reset, you got the wrong one. I see Guan Yu being maybe a longer play, maybe not as good in the very early beginning, where Lady Zoc or Ramses looks like they come right out of the gate just hitting hard and helping you clear content. So we'll see, but what do you think? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Who's your favorite? We're seeing some damage here, and it definitely doesn't look like all 3 champs have the same gear behind them, because you'll see Ramses' damage here is well 8-9 times multiplier of what the other 2's damage are. And the other 2's damage is what we're looking at, their base damage for their attacks with no build on their stats at all. So he must have some level of a build in Simon's account. He must be using him, which that bodes to say that he probably is pretty good, and maybe Simon has chosen him and not the other 2, and that's why the other 2 have no build on them, as the Fateless team is doing their friends and family, I believe, testing and stuff like that. So it looks like maybe Simon chose Ramses. But who do you like? And really, it comes down to which faction do you like. Do you like Aru, Tian, or Omayakan? Because the later champs will probably have pretty good synergies with those champions' kits. Just a guess, but it seems like maybe that's the case. So I'm sure in time we're going to get to gain all 3 of these champs from what we gleaned, but it isn't supposed to be about just picking the right starter champ. It seems to be more about what is your preference. Do you like the Aru and Egyptian mythology, and do you want to get into champions in that faction, or do you like a Mayakin and Central American mythology, or Tian and Chinese mythology, or Japanese mythology, right, in the same screen. So I feel like it gives you an introduction and gets you to choose, okay, which path do I want to take? But I don't see any one path being so much better than the others, although Ramses does seem like he has the best kit out of the 3. I love Lady Zoc. She looks like she smacks pretty hard. We will have to know, like, how does these kits roll up with the scrolls? And then of course, you'll want to gain divinity from having awakenings, and you'll want to gain those sort of things from your awakenings as well. And then your other gear, really max up your attack, your crit. You want to get your crit hit chance to whatever the cap needs to be after we've scrolled up all the way. We don't know what it like how much it'll go up, if it's stuck at this level or if those numbers and percentages will change. That's something still for us to get into as we start the alpha testing in July. So what a really amazing video. Lots of awesome, exciting stuff. Really makes us feel like we're real close to the alpha. And we are. I mean, May is wrapping up very quickly, and June will probably be gone before we know it. So there really isn't a lot of time left. I'm sure they're working hard, and they need every day that they can get, because, they're working on it and they want it to be the best it can be. But it already looks like it's well balanced, well structured, and starts you off on a nice level. What do you prefer versus make the right choice and feel bad if you don't? So I really like that a lot. I think we knew this was going to be the case, but now we're seeing the proof that it is in fact. So this was a great video. If you liked it, please like it and subscribe to the channel. We'll be covering more in terms of the game as it gets closer to its testing and then global launch. Thanks so much. Take care of yourself, guys, and remember, play smarter.